Hello, my name is Grin, and this is my beard. Today's crumb that I'm pulling out of my beard is the second time I'm pulling it out because I accidentally hit the stream button instead of the record button on my OBS. And then the only reason why I knew was because it told me, oh, your stream's having problems. Yeah, that was great. That was fun. So today's crumb that I'm pulling out of my beard again is going to a specialist doctor in Japan. When I say specialist, it's kind of different. It's different than what you might be thinking because, like, I know in the States and in Europe, when you go to the doctor, you go to a GP, a general practitioner, for whatever the problem is, and then if you need to go to a specialist, he'll send you to like a an osteo osteopathist, whatever, bone doctor or whatever, ophthalmologist or whatever you need for whatever your problem is. But here in Japan, you kind of have to know ahead of time what kind of a problem you have before you go to the doctor. You need to decide what kind of doctor you need to see. So the two most common ones are uh, Naika, which is internal medicine, and Sekigeka, which is like bone, having to do with your bones. So I have this problem with my shoulder, and I've had it since 2023. I don't know what happened. I must have injured myself somehow. Didn't don't realize how I did it, but it's been very painful, and I've been trying to figure out what's wrong. Basically, I can lift my arm up, but when I bring it down, it hurts, and sometimes it'll just hurt, especially if I do lots of small motions. Like washing dishes is okay, but if I wash the silverware, which requires me to move too much, makes my shoulder hurt. Things like that. And it can be painful. It can be like an all day or a week worth of pain. And so I have to take painkillers for that. And I've been dealing with this for years. And the doctor that I met at the nearby hospital, he actually speaks English, which has been great. It's been great to have an English speaking doctor. He went to the United States and studied there for like 4 years or something like that, and came back and he's in my small town. That's fantastic. It's fantastic, but he wasn't able to figure out what was wrong with my shoulder. And he had me going through rehabilitation, but every time I would do the rehabilitation, it would just get worse. It would hurt more, and I would need more pain medicine. And I don't really want to take pain medicine. If I don't have to, I don't want to. But yeah, it was pretty bad, so I had to. So I basically stopped doing the rehabilitation because it wasn't really helping, and because of that, the doctor was like, "Well, I really don't know what to do, so I'm going to send you to a college hospital." So I'm going to go meet a college professor in a bone doctor college professor, Sekigeka uh, college professor. So the problem with that is that he's only at the hospital 1 day a month and only for about 6 hours. So I can only go 1 day a month, and it's the 8th of every month is when he's available. So I had to make or he had to give me a what's called a shokaijo, a letter of reference, I guess, a introduction to the doctor and the reason, and he has to give me a reason why I'm going to that doctor. You can't just go to this doctor, as far as I know. You probably could if you went on that 1 day, actually, but only, yeah, you can go there on that 1 day if you don't have a shokai, if you don't have a letter of introduction, but it's only 1.5 hours that you're able to go there, and they only serve a few people. But if you have a letter of reference, then you'll definitely see the doctor. So I had a letter of reference to go see this doctor, and I waited for 4 hours to see him. I had to eat a lunch while I was there. I had ate melon bread, and some peanuts. That was my lunch. And I finally saw the doctor, and oh God. So he put me through a battery of tests, and these tests are just to see what I can and can't do with my arm and where the pain is so that he can get a better idea of what's wrong. And there's a bunch of different tests, and he was pulling and poking and pushing my arm, and it was very, very painful. It sucked. And then he had one of his colleagues come in and he's like, "Oh yeah, check this out." And he has his colleague do the same thing on me, and it's like, it was it was not pleasant. It wasn't pleasant. The pain is much better now, but about an hour after, I was still in quite a bit of pain. Afterwards, he didn't tell me, "Oh yeah, this is what's wrong with you." He just said, "You have two options. You can go through rehabilitation or you can do surgery." It's like, well, if he wants to do surgery, then he knows what's wrong. Obviously, you don't do surgery on somebody that you don't know what. It's just obvious. If he's suggesting a surgery, then he has an idea of what's wrong. And the surgery and the procedure that he suggested is how I figured out what he thinks is wrong with my shoulder, and I think he's right. Basically, the surgery is to fix a divot in the circular part of the bone and to pull the bone of the arm closer to the shoulder. Uh, the reason why is because this what I have is when I lift my arm up, I can't. It's not painful, but when I pull it down again, it gets caught and it pops and it hurts. And sometimes just over time it'll just start hurting, and it hurts all up into the neck and down into the fingers. And that's because my ligaments are stretched, and I have dislocated my shoulder at some point in time, and stretching the ligaments and dislocating it, and then when it went back in, it bumped into the plate that's supposed to hold it, which created a divot in the bone, which means that whenever my arm goes back down, that divot catches on the plate and causes pain. And because the ligaments are so loose, then it's stretching the nerve. So I get it now. And the only reason why I know that is because I saw the surgery. I looked up the surgery and saw what the procedure does and what it's supposed to fix. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I understand what is wrong with me. Now I don't know if I want to do this surgery because it means putting something in there to shore up my shoulder and to the place it's supposed to be, which could also cause me to have range of motion difficulty and things like that. So I'm not sure I want to do that. So he said, well, while you're thinking about it, let's do rehabilitation. I was like, I've already done rehabilitation and it would just cause more pain. He's like, oh, well, that's because they weren't doing the right rehabilitation and it wasn't taught to you correctly. So we'll fix that and we'll give you the correct rehabilitation that you need. I'm like, okay, well, then let's try it. Now, here's the cool thing. If you went to a doctor like this in the States, you went to a specialist doctor, your copay would probably be, really expensive. You'd probably have to pay, a couple $100 to see this doctor. My copay was $22. That's it, just $22, and I couldn't be happier with that. That's a good price to pay. um, I'm happy like that. It's not going to break the bank, and even if I had the surgery, it wouldn't break the bank because I wouldn't pay that much. I have regular national uh, socialized health insurance, which will cover a large percentage for surgery. For a doctor visit, it covers 80%, 75 to 80%. But for a surgery, I think it covers more than that. Plus, I have a secondary hospitalization insurance. If I go to the hospital, I get a certain amount per day from the extra insurance. So I'm pretty sure this surgery would almost cost me nothing. I might have to pay out of pocket, but I'll get it all back. And the pay out of pocket thing, I would not have to pay more than 80%. I'm sorry, no more than 20%. 80% is covered by the socialized insurance. The rest is covered by either me or whatever other insurance I have. So it's a fair deal. It's great. I don't see why other countries can't have this kind of health insurance. Doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, so when you're going to a specialist doctor, you can't just go. You really have to have a shokaijo, a letter of recommendation. And even when you're going to, let's say you're sick, you go to a NICA, which is internal medicine. You don't go to a GP. There's no GP. It's you got to kind of know what kind of doctor you need to see. If you're having pain in your back when you bend over, then you need to go to a sekigeka. If you have, stomach pain and heartburn, then you need to go to a NICA. Just think if it's those are the two main ones. There's other ones too. There's other doctors that you might want to see, maybe a brain doctor or some other kind of doctor, uh, endocrinologist or something like that. And you kind of need to know. And not every hospital will have those doctors to go to. So you have to find those doctors. And a lot of them will be just small practice, small little clinics. Like there are sekigeka at the hospital. The two major ones, almost every hospital has is sekigeka and NICA. That's internal medicine and bone doctor medicine. Then they might have some specialists. Each hospital seems to have their own kind of specialty thing. But then regular clinics, you'll have tons of other just this one doctor is sekigeka. So any sekigeka, any bone doctor stuff, you go to him. Or this one is just NICA. Any problems you have that doesn't have to do with bones, you go to them. So it's different than in the States. Different for me. I know I used to have to go to a GP and then he would tell me where I should go for further information. Oh, well, it's been an ordeal. 4 hours of waiting and then getting tortured. So now I've got to go back to doing rehabilitation and hopefully his this doctor's rehabilitation will be better. But it wasn't too difficult. Here's the other thing. All the paperwork and stuff like that is in Japanese. So if you're going to live in Japan and you're going to try to be in Japan, you need to be able to at least write some Japanese, like katakana, hiragana. If you can at least write katakana, hiragana, then you can, you know, write, fill out the paperwork, basically. However, the paperwork is also all in kanji and stuff like that, and it's medical stuff, so you might not know what it is. So nowadays, it's not so bad. Before, one of the nurses would have to like read it out to you, and they'll help you. Usually, they'll help you. Uh, the nurse will come over and they'll explain to you, and then tell you what it is, and tell you what the answers are, and or what your choices are for answers. But it's better that you don't do that because they don't have a lot of time. It's pressure on them, but they will help you if they have to. However, if you can write it out or read it, that helps a lot. It's really important that you practice Japanese before you come to Japan if you're going to stay in Japan for any longer than a year. If you need help with the kanji, you can use Google Translate. There's a Google Translate app that has a camera module so that you can translate what you see on the app. That helps, especially for kanji, because I'm not very good at kanji at all. Kanji is still really difficult for me. I am still doing my Kumon lessons for katakana, hiragana. I've done hiragana. Now I'm going into katakana. I've done this before and I can read it, but I'm not good at writing it. So that's the reason why I'm doing this again, is so that I can get better at writing it. Once I'm done with katakana, then I'll go into kanji. And I can read some kanji, but I can't write any. Well, I can write my surname in kanji, but that's because I've done it so many times that I've memorized it, but I don't know what it means. It's just a name to me. So yeah, think about that. If you're gonna come to Japan, at least learn katakana, hiragana, and some basic Japanese. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm sure there's a community college near you that has some sort of Japanese classes. Be a good idea maybe to pick up a hiragana, katakana worksheet or something like that so that you can learn to write and read it. Do suggest it if you're going to be in Japan for any amount of time. That's a lot on my beard today. A lot of pain and suffering on my shoulder and my beard today. So thanks for listening to my whole story, and see you.